Welcome to Introduction to Photoshop. I'm Professor Marty. You can call me Mr. Pfeiffer or Marty. Either one is fine. First off, if this were an in-person class, we'd read the syllabus together. I trust you, however. Go onto Canvas and click on the syllabus button, or it's in Module 0 Administrivia. There's also a PDF of the resume or the syllabus there that you can read through. So how about an introduction to who I am? I've been working as a graphic designer for over 25 years, and I have learned a lot of things in the various jobs that I've had that I'd like to pass on to you. So we'll show you a little bit of how I work using Adobe applications such as Photoshop and InDesign. I call this a magic demonstration because as far as clients are concerned, the stuff you do is magical. They don't know how to do it. They have no idea how long anything will take. So if you can do things more quickly than they expect it to be, for them, it's like magic. Also, working harder isn't a value or a virtue necessarily. I think working smart is a virtue. So if you can do something quickly and it gives you the same exact results as working hours and hours on end, I think that there's actually a value in working quickly and being able to do other things, being able to do more things, being able to be more useful to people. That is more a value, a virtue, than saying, hey, I put 14 hours into this one project, when really you could have done it in an hour and a half. So let's show how Adobe applications allow us to get this kind of quickness. Now, this is mostly an InDesign example because ultimately your work, if you're a graphic designer, will end up in InDesign. So if you're using images, you're probably editing them in Photoshop. If you're using illustrations, you're creating them in Illustrator. But at the end of the day, you're working with images and text, and where that all happens is in InDesign. Nice thing about InDesign, it integrates easily and quickly with other Adobe applications. Our first example is an actor's resume. I started out working at Kinko's in Burbank, which is really close to Hollywood. So we had a lot of actors come in and they would need to have changes to their resume. So Lula is visiting from England and she needs to get a new resume so that she can start getting jobs here. So she currently has her resume as a PDF, and we're going to use that PDF of her current resume to create a new resume. We're going to update it with a new image. We don't need to change any of the credits because she needs to get more work so that we can add that onto her resume. But for right now, she has a new photo that she'd like to use instead. However, it is in color and we need to change it to black and white for her. So we'll use Photoshop for that. So with InDesign open, I'll press the blue button here for a new file. And then I'm going to go in my print presets, and I want to see more presets here because I'm looking for A4. So I'll click on that. That's a size of paper that we're going to use for her resume, and press the create button there. And that gives us our blank canvas. We want to get her a resume as it is right now, which is a PDF. So I'm going to go to File and Place, and then I'll find that resume. Here we go. Just click on that. We'll go ahead and show import options. And then I'll press open and previewed page, options, crop to media. That all sounds good to me. I'll press OK and then just click anywhere on the canvas. It places it and then I can move it into place. There we go. Now we want to cover up this picture with the picture that she's provided. So the easy way to do that is we're going to create a frame. So I go to my rectangle frame tool. And I'm just going to create a frame first off to go on top of her current picture. We just want to cover it. So if it's a little bigger, that would be fine. And then I think I'd like it to go, we'll zoom in and we'll just make it kind of the same as these bars she has there. So we'll make that nice and match up there. All right, so that's looking good. So now that we have this frame, we're going to put something in it. So with it selected, I'm going to File and Place. And then we're going to select her image there and press open. And you see it's a color image. We'll fix that. And it's all zoomed in. So, gosh, this is a lot of problems. Fortunately, we have this options bar here. And there's some buttons up here that we can play with to get this to fit proportionally or fit the content proportionally if we want to show the whole image. But the handy one is auto fit. And that's what we should have had selected before we put the image in. This content aware fit is also a good one. So if we click on that one, it more nicely centers the image in the available frame. So that works out great. So at this point, we need to change the image so it is not in color. So you'll notice that there is an image in the links panel here. And that represents this file that makes this image. So I can edit it by clicking on a little pencil here in the links panel, and that'll open up Photoshop where we can apply a change to this. So we want to make it black and white. So I'm going to my adjustments here, and then we'll do black and white. And we can mess with these sliders to change how it is adjusting the conversion to black and white. Kind of just getting nice midtones here on her skin. Her hair is so wonderful. That's awesome. So I want to make sure that we show the texture in the hair. So we can change these settings here to get something that's appropriate. I think the default was pretty close. So just fiddling with this a little bit, it's looking good to me. So I'll go ahead and hit save. And sure, we'll maximize compatibility. And then we can go back into InDesign. So I'm pressing Command Tab on the Mac to get back to InDesign. And look at that. The image is now in black and white. And we can go ahead and print this, give the resume to our client, and she'll be on her way and hopefully getting more jobs. So our second case study is a magazine article. And this is going to be something that looks like, oh my God, this is going to take so long to do. However, we have some strategies that are going to make it a little easier for us. Actually, a lot easier for us. First of all, we're going to start from a template. So a lot of the heavy lifting and, the layout part is already done for us. So essentially, we're going to import the editor's approved text and then place images in predetermined frames. So the layout's already been set for us. This is not a feature, but an article that is commonly in the magazine, and the layout doesn't change each month. However, the content does. So for this magazine, we have a template to start from. So it's Life on the Grid, new design template is the file we're looking for. And it ends with INDT. The T stands for template. So that's how we know that's what we need to work with. So I'll just double click on that. And you'll notice it actually doesn't open that file. It opens a new untitled file for me. So this is nice because I don't want to save over the template because we spent a lot of work getting that all ready for us. So it makes production much easier. So from here, all we have to do is pour in the content. So first we'll start with the text. So I'm going to make sure I have nothing selected. I'll just go to File and Place. And let's find that Word file the boss gave us. So she's marked it as final. I can switch over to Word here, and I already had it open here. This is just what it looks like in Word, so there's no real fancy formatting there. It's just, basically plain text. But you'll notice that, things are different styles here, and the styles that we have in Word will directly translate into InDesign. So we just have name styles for all these things, like the character styles and the paragraph styles. So it doesn't matter what it looks like in Word, we'll be able to get the fancy formatting in InDesign. So I'll click on Open. And just want to make sure this is selected, Preserve Styles and Formatting. That's all I'm really concerned about here. And then I just press OK. And I'm going to click just on the first text box. And the text boxes are all linked together. So once it gets to the end of the text box, it will flow into the next one. So I'm just going to click on this first one here, and it should flow the entire article. Yep, it does, even the byline. Excellent. So now we want to get these pictures in these boxes here. So once again, I'm making sure nothing is selected, and then I go to File and Place and Images, and the boss has helpfully numbered these so we know which order they go in. I'm just going to click on the first one, click Shift, and then click on the last one. So it selects all 6 of them all together. I don't need to show the import option, so I'll turn that off. And then I'll just hit Open here. And then one by one, I'll click on the boxes, and it will fill them in. And you'll notice that these boxes also have a drop shadow on them. That is a style that's applied to that graphic frame. So once I have that set up, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Also, it's baked into the template, so that's not a lot of worry for me. But essentially, this is took us about a minute, and the magazine layout is done for this page. That's great. It would be nice if the rest of the magazine was this easy. Obviously, we spent some time, shooting these images, writing the article. That's where the real work went into it. So once the design is kind of set, you just have to be consistent. And consistency is part of good design. It's like if your plumber takes 15 minutes to solve a problem that would take you 3 hours, but he charges you $150. Well, that's time that you didn't have to spend and maybe get dirty and maybe have it done wrong. So the amount of time it takes to do something isn't really the value of it. It's what that time allows you to do outside of that is valuable to you and to your client. The product is what is important. So let's take a look at how Photoshop is different than other applications. You saw in the 2 demonstrations that there are common features between Photoshop and InDesign. But let's take a look at PowerPoint. And yes, that is a little meta. I'm currently giving you this presentation through PowerPoint. In Microsoft applications, there's a ribbon at the top of the screen that changes to display options for the selected tab. Also on the Mac, there's a menu bar at the top of the screen. On Windows, a lot of the menu bar type file tasks are handled through what they call the backstage, which is on the File tab. That doesn't exist on the Mac. Instead, they actually have a menu bar for those functions. Occasionally, you'll have side panels or modal dialog boxes that pop up for detailed edits. And there's no toolbar. So if you're wanting to make changes, you're picking something from the ribbon that has the functionality that you want, and you work with that. So let's look at the features of this interface. So the menu bar, most normal features are here. However, they could be more easily accessed in a panel. Eventually, you'll learn keyboard shortcuts for the most common menu items. We won't cover every menu in this class. Some I have never even used. This is where more specialized types of things can be done. The document is where we lay down all of our pixels, all of our edits go into here. That's ultimately what we're going to see when we make our changes to our image. On the left-hand side, there's a toolbar, and this is different from other applications. You can choose the tool when you want to do different things. At the top, you can click on the double chevron to switch between 1 column and 2 columns. I always use 2 columns because that's how image editing programs that I used in the past worked. So when I see that 1 column, it makes it difficult for me, but use the option that works best for you. Select objects with the object selection tool, paint with the brush tool, add text with the horizontal type tool. You can create boxes with the rectangle tool, draw vector paths with the pen tool, and sample colors with the eyedropper. The options panel, also called the control panel in InDesign, this changes based on what tool or object you have selected, and it's a quick way to see what's going on. The workplace switcher, if you want to see just a set of tools, you can change the workplace switcher to a different setting, and it'll allow you to access a certain different set of tools. The panels on the right-hand side, this is where specialized features can be accessed without having to go to a menu. So modal means you're stuck in a dialog box until you commit to the changes, versus non-modal, which is what the panels are. You're free to make changes at any time. They apply instantly. Panels can also be free-floating and stacked on top of each other. You can choose how it is much more convenient for you, however you want to work. Sometimes you just need a panel temporarily, and so having it free-floating makes sense. Other times you're always going back to the panel, so it would make sense to have it dock. And you can click on the double chevron to expand or collapse panels. And then you can choose the name on the tab to switch to that panel, and double-click on the current tab to collapse that panel. So that's ways that you can modify your workspace to kind of make more space for yourself, perhaps in another panel, is by collapsing one set of panels. So let's talk about getting around in the image in Photoshop. It turns out this is very easy to do. Navigation is through two basic tools. First off, there's the hand tool. You press the space bar to activate the hand tool, because normally you want to just get around, then change it back to whichever tool you're using before. You can select it from the toolbar, but most people find that they just hold down the space bar and then they click and drag with the mouse, and that changes the position of your image in the document window so that you can work on a different section. The zoom tool is right next to the hand tool there in the toolbar. And in fact, it shares kind of a keyboard shortcut. On Windows, you add Control to the spacebar, or on Mac, you add Command to the spacebar, and that allows you to zoom in. Likewise, if you want to zoom out, in addition to holding down Control and the spacebar, just add Alt, and that will zoom out. On the Mac, it's Command, Option, Spacebar. That allows you to zoom out. On the Options panel, at the top of the screen, there are actual buttons there for you to select from: 100%, Fit Screen, and Fill Screen. And those are kind of very handy options to once you're really zoomed in or zoom out. So it gives you an easy way to get back to normal. So one of those will probably be the appropriate option. I usually find that the Fit Screen button is very good to use. It also has a keyboard shortcut. You press Control or Command 0, and that will set the zoom to fit screen. 100% is also useful too, because that actually shows you the actual pixels at the pixel size on your monitor. So that is very handy to be able to get like a reality check of what is actually happening in the image. By default, there is a checkbox for scrubby zoom in the options panel. And this is what you would normally want to use. Basically, you click and drag with the mouse, and it will zoom in or zoom out. It's very intuitive. Once you use it, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is how this works. By default, this makes sense for most users today. However, Photoshop has a lot of concessions to older users. So that's why there is a checkbox to turn off scrubby zoom. So the old way of how the magnifying tool used to work is you'd click and drag out a marquee selection, and that would zoom into that selection. Now, sometimes that is still super useful, rather than doing a scrubby zoom, because a scrubby zoom, it kind of doesn't get to the point of the image that you want, and so you have to combine it with a hand tool. With the marquee zoom, it allows you to, yes, I want to look more closely at this specific part of the image. So it allows you to be more intentional about your zooming. And so, yes, I know I sound like a boomer. It's like, why can't we just do it the easy way? Well, there's this more efficient way, technically. But yeah, so it's a concession for us old-timey users. If you're fine with the scrubby zoom and the hand tool, that's the way to work for you. So ultimately, find a work way. As long as you can be quick with it, it is the correct work way. So let's put your skills to a test. I have an image of Waldo on canvas. So go ahead and download that and open it in Photoshop and use the different, the hand and the magnify tool to help you find Waldo. Now, there are a few false Waldos in that image, so make sure that Waldo that you find has all of the elements you see here. So he has the hat, the glasses, the striped shirt. He always has the cane, and he has the long pants. So if you find a Waldo that has like most of those, but he's missing one or two items, that's a false Waldo. So don't get tricked. So yeah, look for the Waldo. And this is kind of just an exercise to get you familiar with how zooming in and panning around the image works. So take a few minutes and do that. I think that's a fun exercise. And it's even more fun when we do it in class because you get to compete with your classmates. Kind of hard to do that with a non-synchronous online class. Because you're probably watching this video at different times. So you can't, raise your hand and say, I found it. But I think it's still a good exercise for you to just get familiar with these zoom tools because you'll be using those a lot when you're working in Photoshop. So I'd like you to get familiar with those right away.